Salve Omnis, and welcome back to the channel. I have another guide video for you. This time I'm covering Shaolin, the Wu Lin hybrid hero released to us during Marching Fire. Shaolin fights with a bow staff and has a few peculiar aspects to him. Access to teleportation feats, and somehow blocking and parrying attacks with his wrist braces despite having a perfectly solid weapon capable of just that. Shaolin has a very diverse moveset and is a very complicated hero. So my apologies, but this will be a long video as I aim to cover everything I can as in depth as possible. This guide will assume that you know the basics of For Honor combat, and you're also familiar with the terminology, such as guard breaks, parrying, chains and feints etc, and is aimed at new and existing players to help learn a new character. As usual, we will start with the chains. Relentless is an infinite attack chain that is performed by alternating between light and heavy attacks. Specifically, this variant of the chain begins with a light opener. Relentless alternate is more or less the same infinite attack chain as before, requiring that you alternate light and heavy attacks, the only difference here being that this chain variant begins with a heavy opener. Both variants of the Relentless chain will end if you throw either 2 light attacks in a row or 2 heavy attacks in a row mid-chain. These chains will also end if you enter Chi stance, more on that later in the video though. Death Point Strike and Death Point Strike alternate is a 3-hit light attack chain. If the first hit of this chain hits your opponent, the second and third hit are guaranteed to hit also. You can perform the follow-up attacks by pressing light attack just as Shaolin strikes the opponent. These chains can only be performed by using exclusively 3 left side lights in a row or 3 right side lights in a row. You can either perform this chain quickly or you can delay it. Practice delaying your inputs for this chain as it's your go-to ganking tool with Shaolin. The delayed inputs here will provide an ally an opening for a heavy attack. Light openers from the side deal 7 damage and are 500 milliseconds. Light openers from top guard deal 12 damage and are 400 milliseconds. Chain lights deal 12 damage from all sides, are all 400 milliseconds in duration and can only be accessed after a heavy attack. Light finishes are performed by doing 2 light attacks in a row. They deal 18 damage from all sides and are 500 milliseconds. The second and third lights of the Death Point Strike and Death Point Strike alternate chain both deal 7 damage. They are confirmed to land providing the opening light hit the opponent successfully. Landing all 3 will total to 21 damage. It is, however, common practice amongst Shaolin players to forego the guaranteed third light of the chain and simply opt for 2 lights. This is because Shaolin's chain finishes cannot be used to flow into Chi stance, whereas chain attacks can. You will only deal 14 damage here, but the damage trade-off is more than acceptable given the follow-up options you will have with Chi stance. More on that later in the video. Heavy openers deal 25 damage and have a speed of 800 milliseconds from all sides. Chain heavies can only be accessed after a light attack and also deal 25 damage from all sides, although these are slightly faster at 700 milliseconds. Heavy finishes can only be accessed by using 2 heavy attacks in a row. They deal 35 damage and are surprisingly quite fast for a heavy attack at 600 milliseconds. Shaolin's zone attack consists of 3 attacks, all of which strike the opponent's left guard. The first and second hit of the zone will deal 10 damage each, with the final hit dealing 20 damage. The zone attack can be feinted after the first strike or the second, and each hit also have different attack speeds. The first hit is 600 milliseconds, the second is faster at 500 milliseconds, and the final hit is even faster at 400 milliseconds. The various attack speeds means different things for Shaolin. The second part of the zone can be blocked if the first part hits. The third part of your zone attack is guaranteed to hit the opponent, providing that the second part did. The third part of the zone attack is also capable of ledging your opponent. If the first part of the zone is blocked, however, then the second part can be parried. The same is true for the third hit. If the second strike was blocked, then the third hit can be parried, so it's very important to watch your opponent carefully when you're using your zone attack as a Shaolin. When you are not locked onto anyone and sprinting towards an opponent, press guard break to perform Flying Monkey. This is a 700 millisecond bash attack in the form of a flying kick. It can be used to wall splat opponents as well as ledging them. If the kick hits your opponent, you can confirm your top light against a static guard hero. You can also confirm Death Point Strike against a static guard hero, providing that you attack a direction opposite to where their guard is. In other words, if your opponent is blocking to your left, you can strike from the right. Both of these options are confirmed against heroes with Reflex Guard. If you can wall splat your opponent using Flying Monkey, you can guarantee a heavy attack from any direction. Dodge forwards and press heavy attack to perform Shadowstep. This attack always strikes top guard and deals 25 damage. It also functions as a chain starter, both for the purposes of the Relentless Chain and for entering Chi stance. Shadowstep has a speed of 700 milliseconds and can be hard feinted, very useful for punishing parry happy opponents. When fighting heroes that have superior light attack options, feinting Shadowstep can be used to bait and punish opponents that rely on them. However, this particular tactic is vulnerable to some option select zone attacks. Dodge either to the left or right and press heavy attack to perform Side Shadowstep. This attack will hit for 20 damage and the attack will come from the opposite direction of your dodge. Side Shadowstep has a speed of 600 milliseconds but cannot be used as a chain starter in any capacity and cannot be feinted. Although Shaolin is a hybrid class hero, he has a reflex guard akin to the assassin class. Reflex guards are only active for a short time before you have no guard. No guard is represented on screen by your guard widget being black in all directions. You must continue to refresh your guard to keep it active. This means that blocking attacks must be done on reaction as opposed to preemptively, but Shaolin is compensated by the ability to perform deflects. Perform a deflect by dodging into an opponent's blockable attack. Deflects are easier to perform against top attacks and undodgeable attacks, as the dodge iframes will be ignored, thus giving the deflect priority. Side deflects must be dodged later into the attack to be successful. After a successful deflect, press heavy attack to perform Shadow Deflect. This attack deals 25 damage and functions as a chain starter for both the infinite chain and for entering Chi stance. Whilst the deflect doesn't give additional damage when compared to a normal heavy attack, Shadow Deflect is unblockable and has hyper armor. Hyper armor is indicated by a white flash on Shaolin during the attack. Chi stance is where all of Shaolin's pressure tools are. You can enter Chi stance by holding down light attack after a light that is either a light opener or a chain light, and if it hit or missed your opponent. You can also enter Chi stance by holding heavy attack after a heavy that is either a heavy opener or chain heavy that hit, missed or was blocked by your opponent. To exit Chi stance without performing a follow-up, simply press the feint button. Something important to keep note of is that whilst ever you remain in Chi stance, your stamina regeneration will be paused. Your stamina will regenerate as normal once you are no longer in Chi stance. Whilst in Chi stance, either release light attack when your guard is to the top if you entered the stance from a light attack, or press light attack in top guard if you entered the stance via a heavy to perform the Bounding Blossom. This attack will deal 18 damage, strikes top guard and stuns your opponent. It has an attack speed of 500 milliseconds and the indicator will be hidden from your opponent for the first 100 milliseconds. Bounding Blossom has superior block properties during startup and can be used to counter opposing top attacks that can be blocked. If done successfully, the attack will do an increased 35 damage and become unblockable. Astonishing Blossom is performed the same way as Bounding Blossom, with the exception that you must use a Sidelight from Chi stance. This attack will do 18 damage but is slower than its top counterpart at 700 milliseconds and does not cause a stun. Astonishing Blossom also has superior block properties during startup and if successfully executed against opposing blockable attacks will make the move unblockable and deal 35 damage. Astonishing Blossom has longer superior block frames than its counterpart to supplement its lack of speed. When in Chi stance, press or release top heavy to perform Lotus Leap. This attack deals 40 damage, has the unblockable property, and has a speed of 900 milliseconds. It also has decent tracking, allowing it to catch early dodge attempts. Lotus Leap can be feinted normally, and doing so will reset you back into neutral. When in Chi stance, press or release side heavy to perform Elegant Lotus. This attack deals 30 damage and has the undodgeable property. This is represented by a blue trail following the attack. The attack can be feinted normally and doing so will reset you back into neutral and out of Chi stance. When in Chi stance, press guard break to perform a sun kick. The kick has a speed of 500 milliseconds. If evaded, the kick can be punished with a guard break. If your kick hits your opponent, you can press light attack to use the sun kick strike. This is a light attack that will always hit an opponent after a successful sun kick. It does 20 damage and functions as a chain finisher. The strike cannot be performed on a kick that misses your opponent. You can also opt to perform a sun kick sweep. To do this, press guard break after a sun kick hits your opponent. The sweep has a speed of 700 milliseconds, and if it lands, the opponent will be unbalanced and fall to the ground. The sweep is not guaranteed to land even if the sun kick does, so it is a risk on the Shaolin's part. If successful, the sweep can confirm your death point strike combo or ally heavy attacks. Use with caution though, as the sweep can trip your allies as well as your enemies. After a sun kick hits your opponent, press heavy attack to launch a sun kick smash. This attack is 700 milliseconds, deals 35 damage and has the unblockable property and always strikes top guard. This attack is also considered to be a chain finisher. The attack can be feinted, resetting you back into neutral and out of chi stance. The sun kick smash is also not confirmed, as it can be both dodged and parried. Finally, whilst you're in chi stance, you can taunt your opponent by pressing whatever button or key you have bound to your emotes. This of course deals no damage or does anything at all to your opponent, but can have a more psychological effect, prompting aggressive approaches that you can punish. With the moveset finally covered, it's time for the punishers. On a guard break, you get a heavy attack from any direction for 25 damage. Wall splats give you a heavy attack for 25 damage also, but isn't necessary for Shaolin as he gets this from guard break. Shaolin's throws also stun the opponent, although this is negligible. Parrying a heavy attack nets you your death point strike combo for 21 damage. This will end your chain though, so it is usually more beneficial to opt for 2 hits at 14 damage and then flow into chi stance. The first part of your zone attack is also confirmed for 10 damage. Even when outnumbered, this isn't particularly a good option, but possible all the same. Parrying a light attack will net you a heavy attack from any direction for 25 damage. If you are out of stamina and guard break your opponent, you can get a light attack. Use your top light at 12 damage. If you can wall splat your opponent when you are out of stamina, you can get a heavy attack for 25 damage, providing you have the correct distance to the wall. This is difficult to achieve with Shaolin, so is situational at best. Parrying a light attack when you are out of stamina will give you a light attack of your own. Once again, use the top light for 12 damage. When throwing an out of stamina opponent, your guard direction or throw direction doesn't matter. The punish is top light into any heavy into any light for 49 damage. This punish is unsafe if your opponent recovers their stamina during wake up. If your guard is to the side, however, throw backwards and input the first 2 lights of your death point strike without changing your guard, and quickly flow into chi stance, and then perform Lotus leap. Total damage here is 54. The timing for this punish is quite strict and is also unsafe. Out of stamina parry punishers are the same. Top light into any heavy into any light for a total of 49 damage. You can also opt for 2 sidelights from your death point strike combo, flow into chi stance and immediately use Lotus leap for a total of 54 damage. Both of these punish options are unsafe if your opponent recovers their stamina during wake up. Finally, on revenge activation, the punish is once again the same. Top light into any heavy into any light, this time totaling to 65 damage. Chi Trap sets a trap that highlights opponents for 45 seconds when triggered, allowing you and all your teammates to see them through walls. The trap has an 8 meter AoE radius, does not get used up when triggered, and can trigger for multiple opponents. It has a 40-second cooldown. This is highly map dependent, but when placed at an enemy spawn point, can provide tactical advantages for your entire team. Stealth is a passive feat. This hides you from the HUD, radar and aim assist. Also hides you from the Oracle's blessing in tribute. This is a good feat for Shaolin. Not only can you avoid projectile feats as long as you remain on the move, but you can get a few sneaky attacks on unaware opponents with the long range provided by Shadowstep. This also synergizes very well with the blink feat. Iron Lungs will allow you to sprint while out of stamina. You will also recover stamina faster while running. Outside of being able to sprint away after going out of stamina from a roll, this feat provides no benefit compared to other tier 1 options. Blink will teleport behind a locked on hero and perform a sun kick, guaranteeing your light follow-up. Your other sun kick options are also available to you. 35-second cooldown time. While this feat can be dodged, it's hard to do so, especially if the Shaolin does this from off-screen, and even harder if they are using the stealth feat. Quick cooldown times makes this a hard feat to pass up. Winner's Advantage will give you 20% more damage for 1.5 seconds after you successfully land an attack. 5-second cooldown. This feat will strengthen your out of stamina punishers and give you quicker kill times against pikemen. It's certainly usable given that Shaolin has 400 millisecond chain lights, but isn't a mandatory pick for him. Thick Skin will give you 25% damage reduction for 3 seconds, 5 second cooldown. A decent defensive feat, this can reduce opponents' combo damage against you, but this is outclassed as a feat choice by Blink. Invigorate is a passive feat. Heal yourself and allies within a 12 meter AoE radius for 12 health for every attack from Chi stance, even when blocked or parried. Possibly the best unique hero feat in the game. Not only does it make Shaolin better in 1v1 situations, but it makes him an amazing team fighter, capable of sustaining his entire team. Even if his Chi attack is parried, he could be cleansing bleed from an ally, preventing a shaman bite. It doesn't work on minions or pikemen, but does work on captains, the guardian and the commander. Heal on block regenerates 5 HP when blocking an attack. While the nerf to this feat was needed, it was never a good choice for Shaolin due to reflex guard and access to invigorate. Nukikube regenerates 9 stamina on a successful light attack and 15 stamina on a successful heavy attack or zone attack. It can be used on minions. Whilst this sounds good on paper, in practice the stamina regeneration is negligible, making this a poor choice compared to invigorate. Blessed Projection targets an ally anywhere on the map and you will teleport to their side, 80 second cooldown. Aside from better rotations and getting back into the action quicker, this feat has other useful applications such as grabbing the shield banner and warping to an ally waiting by the gate or ram, further cementing Shaolin as a team focused hero. Slippery automatically counter guard breaks if it were possible to manually counter a guard break. Guaranteed guard breaks will still work. This lasts for 30 seconds and has a 90 second cooldown. This feat would be useless even if it was a tier 1 feat, easily the worst choice in the game. Scout will reveal all enemies. They show up on the radar and are visible through walls. Enemy attacks cost 25% more stamina and they take 15% increased damage for 20 seconds, 3-minute cooldown. A powerful feat for a coordinated team looking to push breaking opponents. A strong pick but a short duration and long cooldown requires tactical use of this feat. Shaolin has plenty of opportunities to get executions, making Devourer and Headhunter great choices. Remedy complements his teamfight nature and synergizes with kills made from Blink into Sunkick Strike. Endurance isn't a bad option and can replace Remedy, but Shaolin players must learn proper stamina management anyway, so I don't recommend this perk this time. Shaolin likes company, so Clever Tactics doesn't provide much benefit, and with Blessed Projection, Shaolin can simply warp out of fights completely, making Supersonic a moot pick. Finally, Crush Them is far too easy to waste, so as always I don't recommend using it. In conclusion, Shaolin is a very good hero. With tools for every situation and feats focused on being a team player, Shaolin is a valuable ally in any team. My only gripe with the hero is the long range on his neutral top light. Given his potential follow-ups, I think this needs a slight range reduction. Shaolin is however a hero with a very high skill ceiling and requires good reactions and a lot of practice to use at the highest level. If you found this guide helpful, then please leave it a like and consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Remember to tick the bell icon to receive notifications of new content, and please comment down below if I've missed anything out or you have any questions. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now.